2017 is the 125th anniversary year of the historic Ryman Auditorium. Hi, I'm Charlie Mattos. So thrilled that WSM and the Ryman are partnering for this series of interviews entitled I Played the Ryman. And we are thrilled to welcome Grammy Award winner, CMA Award winner, ACM Award winner, but perhaps even best of all, fellow New Englander, Lori McKenna. Right. It is great to see you again.
I forgot about that. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I think last time you joined us in studio,
yeah,
you had just landed from Logan.
Probably.
And somehow made the trek from Logan to BNA to Opryland and made an 8:30 interview. It was quite impressive. I'm hoping your trek here tonight was not quite as adventurous.
It was easier, I believe,
okay.
today. But as long as it's a direct flight, then, I can, that's my commute. Instead of sitting in traffic, Boston traffic, I just get on a plane.
Yeah, well, it's the joy of Logan and Southwest. Those are, if I can't fly Southwest, I walk,
Yeah,
so.
I have a couple backups, but I don't like them.
Yes.
I like, I'm a Southwest girl.
So take me back. First time you ever walked in this building. Were you here to see a show, or was the first time to perform?
Let me think about that. The first couple of times would have been to see a show.
Okay.
Although I did perform here, we did a benefit here. The first time I performed here, it was a benefit, and it was a very small, intimate audience, and we were all on the stage. So the audience was on the stage as well. And so we had our backs to the pews,
right,
and we were facing our audience, which was enjoying what the stage would be like.
Oh, how unique. That's really cool.
The Ryman. And I remember thinking to myself, someday I hope I can turn around. I hope I can sing my songs and turn around. And one of the songs that I played, it was like one of the first times I played the song called People Get Old.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'll play it tonight too. But I've been here a bunch this summer. And, my manager taught me a couple of years ago to make goals, to sort of write down goals, and it's been I've never been a person to do that, and I'm sort of like, I was sort of forced into it, but it's really been amazing to do that. It's like, just put yourself in a different perspective. And one of my goals this year was to open for someone at the Ryman, and I got to open for Little Big Town.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
You played the Opry in this facility a couple of times, and I want to say maybe 3 years ago, for a lot of folks listening on the radio and in the house that night, it may have been the first time they ever heard Humble and Kind.
Yeah, it was one of the first time I played it.
Yeah.
It was. And my kids were all here. And by that point, I knew sort of how special this was, and that may have been the first time I got to turn around and play, to the audience.
Yeah.
But or not, not just be an audience member. So I made sure that the kids were here, and my husband and I brought the kids. I think 4 of the 5 kids were here, and that was one of the first times that they heard Humble and Kind. Certainly live.
Yeah.
They have to listen to me write it.
Yeah. Can you feel the crowd react though?
Well,
even if there's not an audible react, do you kind of feel that they're getting this?
Yeah, that's one of the magical things about this place is the way that it's set up. It's impossible to not be in it with the audience,
right.
And I think that makes the performances lend themselves to the audience so much more when you could feel the audience is really part of every song here in this room. It's just so special in that way.
I've heard that song so many times, but the line that every single time just brings a smile to my face is the root beer popsicle line.
Yeah. I didn't know that was a New England thing.
Yeah.
It's funny how you set yourself, you tell your geographic, presence sometimes in a line where you don't know. I thought those were everywhere.
Yeah. That's great. Your last time on the Opry stage, I think, would have been November of 2016 here at the Ryman.
Yeah.
And not only was it a great night, but you were part of our Mannequin challenge.
Yeah, that was so, it was such a thing.
Yeah.
And whenever they said, I was on first, I think, so I just happened to be standing at the mic, and I was like, really, you're giving me this? Like, how did I get this role? This is amazing. And my friend and co-writer Luke Laird and I got to do that, so that was so fun.
Yeah, it's there. Some social media trends are kind of silly, but I must say that I was enamored with the whole concept,
Yeah.
but the Opry version was among the best I've seen.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was, and when you think about all the people that were in it,
Yep.
it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So a little tiny piece of country music history.
Well, we caught a little bit of your sound check just a few minutes ago as well, and I'm always struck by even something. I mean, I can't imagine how many sound checks you've done in your career at various venues, and they can, I guess, sometimes get mundane.
Yeah.
But when you look up at that stained glass, even sound check in this building is
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, sometimes the sound check is when you really want to like capture a picture of something because it is still light outside.
Yeah.
Depending on what time the show is, and that's one thing I noticed from friends, doing performances here is when you get to see that. I did remind myself to look up and make sure I soaked it in
Yeah.
in case it's not there by the time I perform tonight, because that's a big part of it. Of course, tonight the stage, you can also, there's the windows on the other side.
Yeah,
of
it's
the
a great
stage, too.
backdrop, isn't
It's
it?
beautiful, and I didn't notice that when I walked up, and then I turned around. I was like, oh, it's just a big part of it. And just if you forget for one moment that it's some other church of of country music, you're reminded by those stained glass windows.
And not only figuratively, but literally tonight for Sam's Place. What a great series this is.
Amazing.
Too,
I'm
you
so
know?
happy to be a tiny
Yeah.
little piece of it, and I have friends that have been part of this series, and I know it's very special and super important. So
Take me back about 4 days ago in this building in the ACM Honors. What a night that must have been, huh?
yeah, it was I think that if the ACM Honors were held somewhere else, it would still be amazing. But the fact that they do it here is so special, I think, for especially the time we're in now, and just being able to we live in such a fast world that when somebody says, hey, we should remind ourselves of where we came from, which is impossible not to do in this room, in this building, it's more important and more special. So it was a crazy night.
Yeah. And you'll be back a couple times in the near future as well. The NSAI night, and then a Ryman Opry appearance in November as
So
well.
it's just, this is my year at
Yeah,
the
it's
Ryman.
great.
I'm so spoiled. It's
Yeah.
because of that goal sheet. I wrote it down one time. It's because of that sheet.
Yeah. Well, you got to knock another one off the list a few months back. Late Night with Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
That must have been kind of special, huh?
That was great.
Yeah.
And another thing about just like the times that we're living in, and to be on that show, and I got to bring my band from Boston, and I just love him, and I love it was my first late night show, and I love it. I love the fact that I got to do with my Boston band, because they were also happy to be there too. It was fun.
Yeah. And to take over from Letterman was such a tough spot. I
Yeah.
think it took him a little bit to get his footing, and it was such a different show. But he's really hit his stride, I think.
He really has, and it's so. You learn so much, and it's so entertaining, and it's so funny, and I feel like that all the pieces are there for that, and for them to have on an artist like myself on a show like that really says a lot about them looking into music outside of just what's right in front of people. So it's great.
And unlike a true live interview, you can go back and did you watch yourself that night?
No, but my bandmates did.
Okay.
I stayed in New York and had meetings the next day, but my
Okay.
band all drove home, and my guitar player Marcarelli said I was home in time to watch the show.
Well, I could spend quite a bit of time quoting you back to you.
Oh,
so
boy.
I'm not going to do that
Okay.
much. But there's a couple of songs I just wanted to kind of pick your brain about, and just the songwriting process in general.
Okay.
Do you write to your mood? I mean, does happy equal a happy song? Does mad equal an angry song? Or do you go against type? Or does it vary?
I think it varies. I don't know. I mean, if I had to just answer that yes or no, I would say I don't write
Okay.
to my mood, because most of my songs are really sad, and I'm really not sad.
Okay.
So I tend to not do that. It's funny, since Humble and Kind, I've sort of learned. So my goal as a writer has always been like, you have 3.5 minutes. You want to bring an emotion out in someone. I know I can't really make you dance, but I gotta try to make you feel something. And so I think that's in the back of my mind. That's what I was always going for, and that's where the sad songs sort of took hold in that way. And from my experience with Humble and Kind, I think I sort of have figured out that there's other ways to, hit people emotionally, and that was such a a personal song and just like to me such a simple song, but people saw it in a different each person that listened to it I think saw it in a different way and got a different story from it. And those are really my favorite. Is like I want people to hear something that I wrote or was part of writing, but I want them to put their own story, their own emotions, attach those to it.
I think I saw just a few days ago that song was used as healing after Charlottesville for some of the folks.
Someone made a video, and Tim really, was putting it back out there. And it's funny, I think just as humans, we need we're always reminding ourselves to do things. You know what I mean? And and it's such a simple song. It's just a list. It's a list of like the simplest things, really. Like the chorus is incredibly simple, and I kind of did that on purpose because when I wrote it, my youngest was 10, so I was still in that mode of like hold the door. So there it is, and I think even as adults sometimes we just need reminders all around us. I think that's one thing about music that it always gets us. It always reminds us of something.
From the most recent album, it's one of the opening lines in Wreck You, and as an ex-smoker for about 13, 14 years, this one hit me because I keep my change in the car ashtray. Haven't smoked in years and years, but lately I've been craving.
Right.
Oh.
Well, I was never a smoker.
It made me want to go.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope it did.
No, in a good way, though. It really did. It kind of triggered up all those things. Has anyone said that to you, though? It's like, wow, it really kind of made me want to go back. Yeah.
People do talk to me about that line.
Yeah.
And I was never a smoker, but my dad was a big smoker. And my dad also got dressed in the dark every day. So, and that was really so the kids wouldn't wake up because he worked for Boston Edison for 42 years. And we lived 20 miles south of Boston. And so there was that commute and all that. So he was always up, putting a tie on in the dark, in his room. And he was a big smoker. And then when he stopped, that's what happened. Like the ashtray had to become something else real quick.
I've got change in the car ashtray. Absolutely.
It has to serve a different purpose, or it might fill up again with what you don't want it to.
Oh, that's great. Well, my dad was a smoker too. I can vividly remember. It's kind of funny now. And obviously safety is important, and we got car seats and all that kind of thing. But I can remember driving in the front seat of an old Delta 88 in the middle of my mom and dad with no seatbelt, breathing secondhand smoke, and the only thing saving me from the windshield was my mom. So,
exactly.
So,
I will say parents were quicker back then, though, because that's how we grew up too. It's like, but whoever was driving that arm was out a lot.
They were brilliant. That was their job.
They really had the arm thing down.
So I went back and revisited the Massachusetts record from a few years ago too, and the opening tune in that is called Salt. And I was telling a friend about that song who wasn't familiar with it, so I played it. And I said it's as cutting as John Lennon's "How Do You Sleep" to me. It really like slices. The frame of mind when you were writing that. Could you take me back?
Well, that's the thing about that song is you're probably never going to believe this, but I really just wanted to write a song called Salt.
Wow.
And so I think it started with a different grocery item, to be honest, but I was thinking of just like how simple can a title be and how nondescript really can a title be. Like if you saw a title of a song called Salt, you'd be like that. But with salt, there's salt in our tears, and you pour salt on a wound, and so there's all those pieces of it. And so sometimes I'm lucky or unlucky in the way that a song will which however you want to think of it, sort of like just give you the story, and that was really just, I knew she had to be mad. To get to.
I didn't want to be on the other end of that.
I knew she had to be mad. So, when you just think about even, the spit in your, it just had to be that to get that small with the salt and everything else. It just had to go that way.
Wow. Well, I mentioned in the opening, we share New England roots. I grew up just on the Rhode Island-Mass line. Cumberland, Rhode Island, but right on the South Attleboro, Mass. Wow. So we're about 25 miles away as
close.
Well. I'm thinking a Red Sox fan, hopefully.
Well, I mean, I'm not that good at sports, but I will watch any game that's on the TV if someone else wants to watch it.
Because I like it. I liken anybody's first time at the Ryman to anybody's first time walking into Fenway Park. It's such a shrine of what it is, you know? The first time you see the green monster or the grass.
Yeah. It's one of those places that embodies the people that have made up the city in so many ways. And I think that's a fair way to think of it. I feel like, because when people do come to Boston, that is an important thing for them to experience.
Yeah. I grew up Saturdays with my mom grocery shopping and clothes shopping. If she would take me to the department stores, and if I was good, we got to go to Newport Creamery. Was there a Newport Creamery in your childhood?
No, but I mean the grocery store version of that. Yeah. We used to go to Howard Johnson's?
Yeah.
And that was my thing. We used to visit my grandmother every Sunday, my father's mother, and she lived in West Roxbury. And then we would drive past a restaurant, and they had these great chocolate lollipops that if the kids were good, that was probably our version of Newport Creamery.
I can remember the clam strips at the Howard Johnson's were really good too.
Well, we never went out to eat when we were little.
No,
that was not
it was
a thing.
special. If it did, it was
very special.
It was for an occasion too. Yeah, you're well, listen, it's been such a great visit, and I thank you so much for letting us kind of interrupt with you backstage before Sam's Place tonight.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. So I'm excited.
And looking forward to seeing you on this stage a few more times in 2017.
You reminded me of that. Thank you.
And I'm going to go write goals when I get home.
Good. I'm telling you, it works.
That's Lori McKenna. I'm Charlie Mattos. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of I Played the Ryman.